good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the day you're watching this new episode of Data-Driven Formula One. My name is Patrick Hens, and today's topic is a journey through rule changes. Why we speak about it, we are in the beginning of the 26 season, and we have a lot of discussion about the new regulations where we have 50% power coming from the combustion engines, 50% from the drive, and especially as you have to recharge the electric power unit, it's a little bit similar to Formula E, as really the electric drive became a relevant factor, especially when you want to overtake the car in front of you. These new regulations face some backlash, hate in social media. Also, some drivers are not completely happy with the new regulations. Others like the new regulations because in the years before we didn't saw so many overtakings than this year. Also, some drivers adapted really good, some not so good. So there are a lot of discussions. I'm sure it will become less also as the teams continue understanding the new regulations, the new technology, and I think it will come back to normal as it went many times before, because since the history of Formula One, we always had relevant changes of regulations. And today's episode wants to remind us to the most relevant ones. So welcome to Data-Driven Formula One. Welcome to a journey through rule changes. The original Formula One regulations had been created and implemented in 1947, and in Turin that year we already had the first race under Formula One regulations. Nevertheless, the first championship only 3 years later, 1950, where we had for a first time a Formula One championship. This was organized under regulations requesting 4.5 liter natural aspirated and 1.5 liter supercharged engines. First winner, Nino Farina with Alfa Romeo, the 158, and this car included the 1.5 liter supercharged engine, which has been the winning combinations in the first years of Formula One. Also, of course, Alfa Romeo was the strongest team. Important, the first years, the cars, including the 158, these are all constructions from the time before World War II, so the end of 1930. Of course, most of Europe was in ruins, many factories destroys. Car manufacturers wanted to focus first to restart the production of streetcars because a lot of people needed to buy a new car. So we had motorsports, but with old cars, so to say. In this episode, we will discuss the changes, and so we will explain a little bit what has been the change and also want to see what changed, who adapted, are the same people winning. We see new winners. And with this, we fast forward 1954. The previous formula compromising the 4.5 liter natural aspirated and the 1.5 liter supercharged engines now was replaced by a unified 2.5 liter formula. This compelled all manufacturers, Mercedes coming new to the sports, Ferrari and Maserati, to develop entirely new engine concept and marked the entry of Mercedes with the legendary V196. Before 1954, the last two Formula One seasons had been organized under Formula 2 regulations, because after 51 Alfa Romeo left the sport and we had no big manufacturer with Formula One cars, and everybody used the Formula 2 regulations also for cost reasons. Again, big parts of Europe still had been in ruins, and there had been other priorities in the countries, markets, and at the companies. So now we have finally new Formula One regulations ensuring we get new modern Formula One cars. How had been the impact? In 1953, we had the winner, Alberto Ascari, winning for a second time with the Ferrari 500, which had been practically a Formula 2 car. In change to this, 1954, the experienced driver Juan Manuel Fangio won with the Maserati 250F, which had been a car constructed under Formula One regulations. With this, we come to 1961, and now another big change from 2.5 back to 1.5 liters of displacement, which means, of course, a massive reduction, and especially the British teams like Cooper, Lotus, BRM were initially completely overwhelmed, while Ferrari was already prepared for the new format. Phil Hill became world champion this transitional year. You have to understand that these British teams in the beginning of the 1960s, you may say, had been garage teams, while Ferrari was a big player, had a big, with a big factory, big workshop, a lot of experts working on the car. So this was really a big difference. What have been the impact? Year before, 1960, winner had been Jack Brabham with the mentioned Cooper team, especially the Cooper T53. And with the new regulations, as said, Phil Hill won the World Drivers' Championship with the Ferrari 156, the famous shark nose. 5 years later, again, dramatic turnarounds from 1.5 liters, this time doubling to 3.0 liters. The season was marked by chaos as hardly any team had a reliable new engine ready in time. Repco, an Australian manufacturer, won the World Championship with Jack Brabham, and this came as a complete surprise. So the year before, 65, Jim Clark won for a second time the championship with the Lotus team. This year with the Lotus 25, but the next year belonged again to Jack Brabham. And he was not only the driver, he was also the team owner because he won with his own car, the Brabham BT19. So all Australian team in this case. Then, yeah, 1983, the introduction of turbo engines revolutionized the performance of the new cars. The engines grew increasingly powerful, eventually reaching over 1,000 horsepower later in the 80s. This ushered in a new era of dominance by manufacturers such as BMW, Porsche, and Honda. In 82, we had a victory by Keke Rosberg driving for Williams, while the Manufacturers' Championship had been won by Ferrari with the 126 C2, which was the dominating car this year. So why no Ferrari champion? I'm sure a lot of you are aware we had the fatal accident of Gilles Villeneuve, and some races later, the accident by Didier Pironi, who broke both legs, meaning at the end we had two new Ferrari drivers. And as a combination of this, none of the Ferrari drivers could sum up enough points to become the champion. Then the turbo area started, 83, new winner Nelson Piquet, if I'm correct, with the Brabham. Nevertheless, the manufacturer's championship went again with Ferrari. The continued developed 126, now with the C3 version. Once as I remember, the turbo area was incredible fast, as said 1000 HP, but on the other hand, engines had been highly unreliable. You could see a lot of engine failures, fires, and also problems with the fuel. It was quite common practically in all races that the last 1, 2 laps, a lot of cars become very slow, and some didn't make it to the checkered flag, and some drivers had to stop the cars left or right the racetrack as they ran out of fuel. And speaking about unreliable turbo engines, this problem had been also with Ferrari. So none of the two drivers, the two French drivers, Anu and Tambay, didn't made it to become the champion. The end of the 80s, 89. Turbocharged engine had dominated Formula One at times delivering over 1,400 horsepower in qualifying. In 89, the turbocharged engine was now completely banned because too dangerous, perceived by the FIA, and all teams were required to switch back to 3.5-liter natural aspirated engines like the classic Cosworth engine from Ford. It marked a fundamental break with the prevailing engine philosophy. So last winner of the Turbo Area 1988, Ayrton Senna with the McLaren MP44, as you see here. And but nevertheless, here no big changes. So the McLaren team, including Honda, adapted very well to the change in regulations. The other driver, Alan Prost, won in 89, and this with the McLaren MP4/5. With this 1994, a ban on electronic driving aids such as traction control and ABS, which once again brought driver skill to the forefront and was intended to improve safety. I remember Ayrton Senna wasn't a big fan of taking these driving aids away, especially because he perceived it as making the life easier and with this more safe. And tragically, he had the fatal accident later in 94 in the San Marino race. But first, 93, before the change, Alan Prost won with the Williams team. Williams was really leading with all kind of electronic driving aids. So they really had been hit hard when this was taken away. So Alan Prost won with the Williams FW15C. And next year, 1994, first victory of the championship for Michael Schumacher with the Benetton. And the team victory, the manufacturers championship, went to Williams with the FW16. And here, similar as I explained for Ferrari some years before, Ayrton Senna had the fatal accident and was replaced by Coulthard, and Damon Hill could not be so constant in the points to win the championship. So even if the Williams, even without taking away the driving aids, was still the strongest car, but Michael Schumacher's talent made it possible for him winning the championship. Fast forward 2009. The introduction of KERS, standing for Kinetic Energy Recovery System, brought hybrid technology now to Formula One for the first time. This is a direct precursor to today's system, today 2026. Simultaneously, double diffusers and massive aerodynamic changes were introduced, and the cars looked radically different, as you can do here the comparison. 2008, Lewis Hamilton won the championship for Mercedes. No, sorry, for McLaren Mercedes. Nevertheless, again, the manufacturers' championship went to Ferrari, as unfortunately they had some problems with reliability. 2007, still drivers' championship and manufacturers' championship went to Ferrari with Kimi Räikkönen. So the first victory championship after Michael Schumacher. But 2008, only the manufacturers' championship went to the Scuderia Ferrari. 2009, and here we really saw that change of regulations can lead to major disruption because the victory went to a team who nobody had on the list practically. The newly founded Brown team, Brown who bought the rests of Jaguar, and they only danced one summer, you may say, because the year later they had been acquired by Mercedes-Benz. So 2009 victory for Jenson Button with the Braun Beach GP001, and there was never a 002 because the next year it would be the Mercedes team. 2014, and this is the closest historical parallel to the current transition. The shift from 2.4-liter natural aspirated V8 engines to 1.6-liter turbo hybrid V6, featuring both MGU-H and MGU-K, which are hybrid electric drive. And this was a monumental change. And here we see further Formula One developing into a hybrid championship, which makes sense because Formula One is marketing for the teams, and we see every year more hybrid cars, meaning combustion engines with electric drive supporting on the streets. And so it made, of course, perfect sense, Formula One also going more and more in this way. Mercedes had the best grasp of the new system and dominated the years that followed. The 2026 regulations likely represent the most significant overhaul since dawn of the hybrid era in 2014. So a big disruption in 2026, but on the other hand, it's a continuous developing coming from pure combustion engines to hybrid system where the electric part every year plays more and more relevant role. So you may say maybe some year Formula One will be a pure electric championship. So what happened the year before the change? 2013, Sebastian Vettel winning the championship with the Red Bull RB9 as on the photos. 2014, as already mentioned, Mercedes was the dominating manufacturer team, and Lewis Hamilton another championship for him. So interesting when we see also 2026, at least the first races, Hamilton looks much better than still in 2025. So we see here that he has the talent to adapt to new situations. Still a step before we come to 2026, 2022. After nearly 40 years, the ground effect was reintroduced, featuring an entirely new vehicle architecture, 80-inch wheels and a new aerodynamic concept designed to enable closer racing. This change too initially sparked significant criticism. So victory here, the year before, 21, Max Verstappen, nevertheless, the manufacturers' championship went to Mercedes with the F1 V12 or V12 in German. As we saw before, there are drivers with have an outstanding talent and they can drive on a higher level than their car, and that's why maybe we have also in 2021 again the situation different driver winning the championship than the team than the car he's driving to. And also, Red Bull classically is like a one-man team, meaning they strongly focus on the number one driver, which is a disadvantage whoever is the number two driver not getting the same level of support, as you may say. Nevertheless, in this case, Max completely perfectly adapted, even more in 2022. Not only he won again the championship, now also the Red Bull team won the championship with the RB18. So this is different than in the situation in 26, where we see Max Verstappen struggling in the first races of the 2026 season, and also Red Bull also still struggling with the change of engine manufacturer from Honda to Ford. And with this, we are in today's 2026. Never before in the history of Formula One have the chassis, aerodynamics, and power unit been overhauled simultaneously and so fundamentally. In this respect, 2026 even surpasses the mentioned 2014. The driver's criticism is strongly reminiscent of 1966, for example, when the new 3-liter regulation initially generated more confusion than actual racing, and of 2014, when many polls lamented the new hybrid sound and complexity. History shows after 1 or 2 seasons, the teams have invariably adapted, and I think we will see this also this year inside the season, that teams will adapt, especially the ones we see really struggling, like Aston Martin. Of course, Cadillac, completely new car, new engine, new chassis, new driver. And of course, they are used this year to really get experience. But also, for example, Max Verstappen with his talent, I'm sure he will improve in the season. So 2024, before the change, Lando Norris first championship for him, and after a while, first championship again for the McLaren team with the Mercedes engine. 2026, who benefits from the change? It seems Mercedes has the strongest car. George Russell is, for most of us, the favorite winning the championship. Ferrari is much closer to the lead team, and after this, a little bit disappointing McLaren, at least in the first 2 races, but again, big team, they have the possibility, resources to adapt and come close again. So we will follow the 2026 season and see what will be the results at the end. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the change of regulations in the history of Formula One. If you did, please give us a like, follow our podcast, for example, on YouTube, Spotify, and YouTube Music, the video version on your classic podcast catchers, the audio only version. Also, if you are into music, have a look on Spotify for the data-driven Formula One mixtape. A lot of songs inspired by the sports, the teams, and the drivers. Okay, that's now really all for today. Hope to see you then next time. Bye bye.